Hey everybody, Nick here, and today we're going to do a disassembly for you of this little guy. This is the Brous Blades Sniper. Interesting knife. Just kind of taking stock of it initially. Blade is centered. No blade play. Action is pretty good, all told. And so I'm hoping we will preserve that. And I want to thank my buddies Frankie and Bud from the Birdshot IV channel for sending this guy along and specifically, requesting that I do the disassembly and maintenance. It's something that's a lot of fun for me, and hopefully it's a lot of interesting for you all, the viewers. So, let's see what we got here. We got a pivot. It's tooled on both sides. Looks like the same screws throughout. I'm betting Torx T6. Torx T6 it is. So that's kind of nice. You just need one driver to take this guy down. Looking at the screw here, there is no sign at all of Loctite. So, something to keep in mind. This is in many ways, I like the fact that this design is pretty clean. There's only the pivot on the show side, and then on the back side here, there are these two screws and the pivot. There's not a whole lot going on. Even the clip is internally screwed, which is nice. Can't argue. Let's see if the pivot is free spinning. Oh, no, the free spinning, I'm sorry, the pivot requires just a little bit bigger. Maybe T7? Let's see here, T7. Maybe even T8. I misspoke. It looks like you're going to need a T8 and a T6. No? Is that T8? That's T9. Hashtag not a brilliant man. What can I say? This is T8. And that's the ticket. Free spinning pivot. Alrighty. No problem. Pull up my handy dandy stabilizer. Also known as another Torx set. This is nice with the extra, the 90-degree angle here, and then I can kind of do this. And then it turns a job that requires several hands into a job that only needs one of them. Now this is getting sketchy because the knife is disassembling itself in front of me. And so, in a situation like this, it's very easy for the blade to fall free, or the whole thing to come apart on you. So you got to be careful there. But okay. Oh, cool. Would you look at that? That's neat. This is neat. Okay. So let's talk about the inside of this knife. There's a nice little surprise. I've taken apart so many damn knives that past the point they all start to look the same on the interior. There's not a whole lot left, nothing new under the sun, so to speak, but this guy has something new. You can see here that the body of this guy is aluminum, I believe. It sure looks like it. But aluminum's not all that strong, and so what Brous has done here is he's using the steel liner here, which also does the liner lock, as a wraparound sort of thing. So the clip here is actually a part of the liner that he's just bent around. That's neat. Absolutely different. And it also comes up here to serve as a stop pin holder. Then on this side, he's got the pivot here, and then the stop pin holder. And interestingly enough, oh, I see what he's done here. He's got a free, the pivot is actually a bushing here, and interesting. And then the bearings go around the pivot. All right. Well, hey, either way, it's neat. That's a neat approach to using aluminum on the exterior of a knife. And by the way, I'm going to grimace in pain because I've got a little cut there, and I'm using rubbing alcohol here. It means that my cut is going to be super clean by the end of this, but I'm also going to be not so thrilled about it. That's life. But anyways, I like that. That's really cool. I'm a fan of that. That's not something I've seen before. Maybe it's just because I'm fairly new to the game, but whatever it is, nice. Let's go ahead and keep washing, keep cleaning here. This is going to be a quickie, I suspect. So many moments of phrasing, as they would say on the Archer, in this channel. I'm just putting some rubbing alcohol onto a Q-tip here so I can get on into this area here. And I'm not going to bother trying to take this apart. I could probably get at it with pliers, but that would only serve to hurt the action. And at the end of the day, this is securely on there. So that's all I can really ask in life. So I'm going to clean up this pivot bushing here, and I'm going to clean the bearings that it runs on. There should be another, there they are. And so here I'm just running the bearings against an alcohol-coated piece of cloth here, making sure I get both sides, and that'll degunk the bearings a little bit. I'll do the same thing for this other bearing. Oh yeah, look at that. That would have been up in the action otherwise. Oh, we're doing good work here, people. There we go. So, that's cleared off. Now, we'll go back to our Q-tip here. Take the outside of this. Not that it's super functionally necessary, but by God, I'm going to do it anyways. We got bearing pockets on the inside of the blade, which is fine. This blade is D2 steel, which is a good excuse to use a DLC coating. D2 is a fine steel. There's a lot of good to it, but it is not the most rust resistant in terms of your steels. Go ahead and put a little more booze on the Q-tip here. It sounds like a euphemism for something. And I put a bit of booze on the old Q-tip. There we go. The terrible part about being your Nick Shabazz is that accidentally suggestive phrasings are not solely limited to YouTube videos. I have at some point in my life done some teaching, including some large classes, 100+ people sitting out in the audience, and I still say those things. Accidentally, and they were all college students, so they 100% understood the references, and yeah. So, anyways, it's always a little bit awkward when you start saying things like that, like pocket pecker, that sort of affair, in front of a live audience. Okay. Moving right on along here. We can go ahead and start reassembling this knife. There's nothing left really for me to do here except to do that. So we're going to go ahead and lubricate using your 10-weight nano oil, which I always like. It's good for flipping knives. And this is already a pretty decent flipping knife, so I'm going to go ahead and apply a nice bead to it. And drop this around the... Okay, so interestingly enough, this washer really appears to be happiest inside the blade. The reason I say that is that it's not a flush fit around the outside of the, bearing race, but you can see here, if I just move this around here, there's actually a fair amount of play back and forth there. So what I'm actually going to do is put this guy in the blade. Go there, grab by the blade, and then lower the scale onto the blade so it's kind of trapped in there. Probably completely unnecessary. It'll align itself naturally. But I'm just going to put it like this, and so I've got the exterior of the race facing towards the scale, which is a little unusual, but that's okay. So I've done that, and I'm actually going to go ahead and transfer the stop pin over to this side. I'm building from this side. There we go. So that's good. That's rolling happily. Now I'm going to go ahead and drop some more lubrication up in here, and that'll have the side effect of lubricating the pivot as well. And I'm going to drop the bearing race into there. Beautiful. And now I'm going to put some of this lubrication in and around your detent, so that way it's extra smooth on the detent. Now finally, for lack of a better thing to do, I'm going to go ahead and reassemble the rest of the knife here. One thing actually I'll point out real quick is you can see, hopefully, that this side of the scale has a little collar to it, and this side has a little hole to it. And so these do actually need to align. It will not work until you've snapped everything shut. And so that is something I'm going to do right there. Okay, good. And the other awkward aspect of this is that the lock bar is on the top side of this guy. And so in order to get things in the proper alignment, I needed to disengage the lock bar slightly, and that just required a little bit of finger gymnastics. Not the end. Oh, there it went. Whatever. I need to Loctite the pivot anyways a little bit. So I'm just going to use a little tiny bit of Loctite, and I'm using the blue Loctite. Never, ever, ever use the red Loctite unless you never want it coming loose. There we go. So what I'm going to do is thread the screw very slightly, just so it starts getting on there. Then I disengage the lock a little bit to free things up. Then I keep spinning, and I'm just getting it into rough position there. Now we're going to go ahead and secure the handle screws. I'm going to do that with the blade at a 90-degree angle. This is something I learned doing Indra knives. For whatever reason, their knives were not so, well, regardless, they took a little bit of doing to get back together, centered and whatnot. And so, oftentimes, if you're a little suspicious, you want to do this. You want to take the knife, put the knife back together with the blade at 90 degrees, because that minimizes the roll of the lock bar on the centering. That's the way it was put to me. There we go. Back together in there. Okay, I got my 2 scale screws torqued down. This is way too loose in the pivot though, so I gotta do that. Gonna pop my T10, T8, sorry, back on there. Tighten this down. Oh, that's right, it's free spinning. So you can see right now that the blade is not at all centered, but that's just because the pivot is way too loose. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there and just tighten. Having now just tightened, it's now centered. Oh, interesting. There we go. Making sure that the lock bar gets all the way on there, that everything locks up safely. That's good. The bearings all look good. Everything looks centered. I mean, action's great. No complaints there. Again, right now, all I'm doing is doing a little bit of a pinch motion. I'm trying to close the blade. I'm doing the same motion that would do this, except with the lock open. And just making sure that it doesn't shut accidentally. The lockup on this guy is fairly light, but that's okay. Probably like to see it a little deeper, but such is life. And note, of course, that when you flip a knife, you get a deeper lockup than if you just very gingerly let it pop open like that. Sometimes, some knives, frustratingly, won't always lock up if you very gently open them up, but do just fine if you flip them as intended. So, anyways, there we go. We are done. This was pretty straightforward. Hopefully you found it slightly interesting at the very least, that it was worth the alcohol buns, and that if you have a Brous, you are able to take it apart, and if you don't, you still have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.